All right, we should be straight from what I can tell. I believe we're live, right? We're good. I'm seeing green everywhere. It's been a minute since we've been live, so hopefully this goes well. But anyway, welcome to Hawks Hoops Live, your I'm gonna say weekly live NBA show. And yes, I get it. It's the end of the season, and you haven't seen me. I think the last live we did was in a month ago, but I was busy. But we are back. I was going to do it last week, and then I remembered I was going on vacation on a cruise. We'll talk about that in a second. It was great. But if you're new around here, live NBA show happens every Wednesday, 8 p.m. right here. Usually like an hour, hour and a half. If it's really good, we'll go two, but usually like an hour, hour and a half. I try to keep it to covering various topics. Obviously, this week, we're talking about the NBA Finals. We have to talk about the NBA Finals. We have to congratulate the 2023 NBA Championships. Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Michael Malone, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Bruce Brown, Christian Braun, Jeff Green. That's basically everybody who played in the finals. And the Denver Nuggets. Let me see if this works. Serge, what's good with you, my man? It's good to hear from you. Good to hear from you. I'm doing well. Oh, they added some new features in here. Very nice. Anyway, doing well. But yes, big congratulations to the Denver Nuggets for winning the NBA Finals. I got a lot of notes about them. I have some thoughts about the Nuggets. Nuggets mainly. Some thoughts about the Miami Heat. Thoughts on the not necessarily offseason predictions, but just a general landscape, a general overview of where the landscape is right now heading into the offseason. So first off, we got to start out with, I think, talking when you think of the NBA Finals and we're thinking about these past playoffs, I have to start out with Nikola Jokic. Now, I don't have it. We saw Jokic do throughout the playoffs and even in these finals. It's one of the best playoff performances we've seen in a long time. One of the best. Like I said, I haven't thought about how deeply or how much it ranks, but I've already seen people compare it to 2018 Bron. I've seen people compare it to the 2016 Bron. I've seen people compare it to Steph's 2015 run. I've seen it already being compared to a lot. Giannis's run in 2021. People are comparing this run to some of the greatest runs some of the great runs we've seen over the last 5-10 years. And I think it's well worth it. Jokic, two things that was on both sides that was amazing to me when watching Jokic, and there are complete opposite things. One is actually watching his play on the court and being able to see him more and more, because as we all know, the Nuggets unfortunately don't get enough national televised games. So even myself at times feel like I don't even watch Jokic enough, and I pay for League Pass because sometimes I'm like, who are they playing? Whatever. I fall prey to it myself. I will admit I don't watch enough Nuggets games, and I'm gonna try to do a better job of that going into the regular season next year. I watched a decent amount, don't get me wrong, but it was some stuff that Jokic was doing even in these playoffs. I was like, wait, that's in his bag too? How deep is this man's bag? That's in his bag too? Because, like I said, even me myself, I feel like I didn't watch enough Nuggets games this year. So I can't be too mad when I was talking to either family members or coworkers or even friends to an extent, but not so much my friends, but mainly a lot of family members, a lot of coworkers who during the regular season I talk ball with a lot. And even they were like, I didn't know Jokic was this nice. Jokic is this nice? Who's this Jokic guy? Like, especially in the first round, second round, Western Conference Finals. They're like, who is Jokic guy? Who is this guy? And I'm like, y'all don't know Jokic? Y'all not paying attention to Jokic all season long? And then, like I said, they don't give a big enough heads up. Excuse me. They don't show enough love. The national media don't show enough love to Jokic, to the Denver Nuggets, so in the regular season. So I get that, and I don't mean this as a derogatory term. I know everybody uses it as a derogatory term. I get that the casual fan, and don't mind me, I'm letting Discord know we live. Shout out to you, Ninja Dills, for letting me out. Let me know that. I get that the casual fan doesn't know as much about the Denver Nuggets, doesn't know that much about Jokic. So I get that. Serge, I'm sure y'all on top of the world. You probably haven't even slept over the last 2-3 days. So congratulations to you and your home country, because man, that's also dope. Because Jokic not only won it for Denver, but I'm sure also the whole country of Serbia is going crazy right now that their guy just won the NBA championship in the best league on the planet. So that's also dope. Dills, what's good with you? Nice to see you, man. Heads up, make sure. Thank you for that heads up. We just let the Discord know. Jokic is better than Embiid. This playoff run and the Sixers' usual second round exit tells us it's obvious now. It's funny. I think it was during the Western Conference Finals after. Was it the Western Conference? Yeah, I think it was Western Conference Finals after he made that shot over Anthony Davis, that like wild step back, one-legger cash. I was like, I think I just tweeted out, y'all got it. I get it. I get it. Y'all got it. I get it. Now, am I going to be fighting for Embiid next year? Of course. Like, that's my guy. I'm going to be trying to make the argument for him next year, of course. But right now, I completely get it. I completely understand. Jokic, this playoffs. Most playoff triple-doubles in playoff history. He had 10. He led the league playoffs in points, assists, and rebounds. No one's ever done that before. He was the first 30, 20, and 10 game in the NBA Finals. And as much as the offense was amazing, don't get me wrong, like passing out of stuff, finishing around the rim, honestly, with ease. His touch around the rim is one of the softest in the game. But outside of the offensive side of the ball, we all know he's an amazing offensive player. And so many people talk about his defense. And most people will agree and admit that his defense has gotten better over the last couple of years. I'll say last like year and a half, not last couple of years, last like year and a half. From watching him in these playoffs, because it's not your typical, as a big man, he probably got the fastest hands in the league throughout the playoffs. I didn't care who it was, whether if it was LeBron and AD going to the basket, whether it was Jimmy or Bam, whether it was even going back to the first round. I want to say it feels like forever ago, but I want to say they played the Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards. It could even whether if it was Devin Booker and Kevin Durant in that second round. When people drive to the basket against Nikola Jokic, I have never seen a center strip the ball so frequently. I mean, at least once, twice a quarter. And it might not turn into a steal. It might just go off the offensive player's leg and they get it back and, they try to do something else, reset. But so many layup opportunities are blown simply because Jokic just strips the ball out of the player's hands. So it's not like a crazy box score stat because, like I said, most of them probably don't even turn into steals. But it's such a quick deterrent and it happens so fast that most times you don't see it happen live on the live broadcast. You see it either in the replay or he stripped it because you saw the ball go out of bounds and they just tell you Jokic stripped it. He has some of the fastest hands in the league defensively. In terms of stripping the ball on people driving to the basket, that specifically, that is Jokic's rim protection. Outside of the fact that he's almost 87 feet tall and he can just big body, put his hands up. Outside of that, his ability to strip the ball is his rim protection, right? The second piece to Jokic's why I say I'm going to give him saying he's a good defender moving forward. Because yes, can you work him into pick and roll to an extent? Sure. But are you going to post him up? Unless you like elite. No, you're not posting up Jokic because he's got the strength to body you. Or unless you're a guard that just get switched on him and try to blow by him. But honestly, unless you're like Bam Adebayo, you're driving by most centers in the league. Like let's call a spade here. But one thing Jokic does at an elite clip, better than most centers in the league, is rebound the basketball. And for me, that's what caps off a defensive possession. I don't care how good your defense is in terms of stops, blocks, deflections, stuff like that. If the offensive team can keep getting more shots up and get offensive rebound off of offensive rebound, they can stay in that game and hang around and win that game just off of energy and effort. Constantly and consistently, the Denver Nuggets, specifically Nikola Jokic, because of Nikola Jokic, were not allowing teams to get 2-3 looks at the basket. Because if you missed that first one, Jokic got the rebound and it was out. Jokic got the rebound and it was off to the races. So for that alone, we talk about Jokic's offense so much, and deservedly so. Jokic's offense is why we know him, why we love him. But I'm willing to venture to say this man is actually a good defender. I'm not going to pull up the stat and stuff because it was low-key, even kind of confusing to myself and wonky. And y'all know I'm not like necessarily a stats guy. But I just said, let me look and see, compared to some of the other bigs in the league, what was his defensive numbers looking like in terms of when the opponent scores or tries to score within 6 feet of the basket and he's the closest primary defender. They shoot 10% less than they do if he's not there. And that was on par with guys like Joel, that was on par with Rudy, that was on par with Anthony Davis. some of those guys might have had a little bit better percentages, 1, 2, 3% here and there, but he was right in the mix with some of those guys. His name isn't brought up when we talk about good big men defenders. I'm not necessarily saying he's on par with the Bams, with the Jaren Jacksons, with even the Anthony Davises. I don't think I'm going that far yet. But when it comes to how he plays defense and how he's been able to utilize his skills and maybe hide some of his shortcomings in terms of his speed and lateral quickness, he makes up for it in hand speed, strength, and just straight up just size and his rebounding ability. Jokic is a good defender, and I'm willing to live with that. I'm willing. If you disagree, it's cool, but I'm willing to live with that. Sleazy, what's good with you, my guy? Yes, long time no see. I've been tripping. I was on vacation. Work was busy. I wasn't really feeling inspired. I was tripping, but we back. Jokic's side hustle is the NBA. That's facts. Murray thrives off of Jokic, hence why it's very least a duo. Yeah, people just include defense for bigs was blocking shots, and that's it. And that's a fact. That's all people think about Sleazy. People think just include defense for bigs with blocking shots, and that's it. And Jokic's defense expands even against Bam. If you look, Bam was being, and we'll get to the Miami Heat in a second, Bam was being aggressive, but it was nights Bam had 26 or Bam had like 23, 22 points. I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was 19, 20 shots because Jokic's big body was affecting his shots around the rim. I'll say that. I want to talk about Jamal Murray real quick. Switching gears to his running mate. I got a lot to say about everybody, so we just gonna hang out. We're gonna vibe out for a little bit. The Bubble Murray allegations are dead. I'm so happy the Bubble Murray allegations are dead. I got guys who's in my wedding. Shout out to you, Mario. Who swore about maybe a season ago when he was still dealing with his ACL, Jamal Murray ain't gonna be like the bubble when he come back. That was the bubble. Jamal Murray not like that, and I had a feeling. I was like, nah, I like Jamal. Jamal can replicate what he did in the bubble, and he did exactly that. He was phenomenal. He was absolutely phenomenal in the NBA Finals. When him and Jokic both had that 30-point triple doubles, first time in NBA history that two players in the NBA Finals had 30-point triple doubles, either the first time in a long time. I don't remember, to be honest with you. It was like a week ago. His work in the pick and roll with Jokic was phenomenal. His ability to pull up for three, pull up for midi, get all the way to the rim. Really, really good from the midi, to be honest with you. That work through that, fight through the blitzes, and find the open man. Murray was great for that in the playoffs for them. Okay, I thought the stream was lagging for a little bit, threw me off. Let me see. Jokic and Murray pick and roll in the playoffs. When I say their pick and roll was honestly probably the most efficient play we saw in the playoffs this year, their pick and roll. When you look at the pick and rolls comparatively in the playoffs compared to the other guys, and think about some of the other duos we had in the playoffs, you got Jimmy and Bam, you got Anthony Davis and LeBron. We had, you can say, they don't do a ton of it, but you can even say like KD and DeAndre Ayton, or Brook Lopez and DeAndre Ayton, Harden and Embiid and Maxey. Not so much with Giannis because of his injuries and stuff that he dealt with, but there was plenty of good pick and roll duos. I just wanted to point that out. Plenty of really good, super talented pick and roll duos in the playoffs this year. The pick and roll between for the Nuggets, specifically between Jamal Murray and Jokic, but just the Nuggets as a whole, but most of it was those two. Highest points per play in the league. Their pick and roll the Nuggets pick and roll had the highest field goal percentage of all the pick and roll teams that they pick and roll in the playoffs. They genuinely had the best pick and roll game that was absolutely unstoppable. And when I was watching that Miami Heat series, it would be a pick and roll, and then they try to stay back and stay with Jokic. Jamal Murray hits open three. Then it's like, okay, hedge up and on Jamal Murray a little bit more. Now you feed Jokic at the high post, easy floater, easy mid-range jumper. Okay, now you bring over an extra third person to try to cut off Jokic. So you double Jamal, bring a third to guard Jokic. Murray hits Jokic. Jokic finds that open man. Like, their pick and roll was absolutely unstoppable. And a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it is because of how good Jamal Murray is with the ball. He's got patience. He's got poise. We already said he can score at all 3 levels. He makes smart decisions with the ball. Because as many times as great as a passer that Jokic was in these playoffs, Jamal Murray also averaged 10 assists in these NBA finals. So he was also diamond dishing, get other people involved, also hitting the cutters. We'll get to Aaron Gordon, Bruce Brown, Jeff Green. Even we'll get to some of those cutters in a second. Amazing play all around. I want to give some shout out to Mike. Before we go to some of the other guys, I want to show some love to Mike Malone. Michael Malone, as he says. And also, I don't think I've ever seen a coach. The Denver Nuggets' parade was today. I didn't get a chance to watch the whole parade. I was just scrolling through Twitter and saw a bunch of like highlights and clips and stuff of the parade. Saw Michael Porter Jr. I saw who was that? KCP do his best Stone Cold Steve Austin impersonation, smash 2 beer cans together, and whatever. But I don't, unless it's just recency bias, which it probably is. It probably is recency bias. I don't think I've ever seen a coach enjoy himself as much as Michael Malone enjoyed himself in that parade. I mean, that man was doing shots. He was drinking. He was having a great time. He had a big old bust down chain on. I don't think I've ever seen a coach enjoy himself that much. So I was happy for him. And that, yes, Coach Mike was. I've never seen a coach have that much fun. Hold on. Why is this? I agree. Lizzie says, I agree with that. It's a part of defense, but he's proven that he doesn't have to block. He's part of this in a second because, yes, Jamal Murray also did show off a nice little low-key post-game when he was having some of the smaller, not necessarily even smaller defenders. They the same size he is. The Miami Heat guards are the same size he is. He does just have low-key a nice little post-game to him. I'm trying to catch up with the rest going on. Jordan got. It's hilarious. Well, y'all gonna catch up now. I just realized it was lagged for like the last 30, 15, 20 seconds. Basically, I was reading through y'all comments. Yes, I agree. Caleb Martin social. Dang, it's doing it again. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see. Because I'm like, oh, you know what we also forgot to do? Go live on TikTok. Did not go live on TikTok. Any hot takes, chat? I want to start a debate. Dills, next week, honestly, I'll probably do like some more. I'm gonna ask for some hot takes ahead of time and stuff, and do some more of them on, or not necessarily even hot takes, just like off-season predictions and stuff you would like to see or want to see. I'm probably gonna ask for that over the weekend. Hawk, check your PC storage. It could be loan storage. That could be the reason. That's a good question. I have to look into that after stream. I'll have to go in and try to clean up. I'll look into that. Maybe I'll check out the PC storage. I have an external hard drive I use, but I try to keep all the stuff I'm actively editing on my PC. And every little bit, every couple of weeks, whatever, I just offload projects as they're done to my external. Maybe I need to go and look and see what I need to offload off. All right, we were talking about Michael Malone. I just want to tip my hat to him. Great execution throughout the playoffs, so specifically in the NBA Finals. Eric Spoelstra, we all know how they ran a 1-3-1. I saw a 2-3. I saw a 3-2. I saw a 2-1-2 even at times. Multiple different zone looks, all types of different defensive coverages. And Miami would go on a little run, get the string together, 7, 11, even 14 at one point. I think one game I saw a 14-point run from the Heat. And game after game, moment after moment, the Nuggets didn't get rattled. They just took a deep breath. Malone analyzed the situation, and he knew how to bounce back. So shout out to Mike Malone for coaching a great series, to be honest with you. Really, truly coaching a great series. Having your answer for everything that Eric Spoelstra threw at him. The Nuggets as a whole, in general, from the top down, never really seemed to get rattled. The Heat went on the run. They never seemed to get bothered by it. They just kept playing their game. They stuck with their course, and they won an NBA championship. So shout out to Mike Malone for that. I got to talk about Aaron Gordon. I feel like for the last 2 seasons, I'm not even gonna lie, couldn't tell you where he's at in the league right now. And a 2025 protected pick. aka a steal. Because at the time, Aaron Gordon, he was smooth. He was like one of those guys who's like, is he going to be an all-star? Is he going to be a 20-point per game guy? I don't think that was like mainstream idea about him, but he was a flyer, and I like that about his game. But in Orlando, he was looked at as like this number one option. So his field goal percentage was like mid to low 40s. They had him run up some small forward at the time. The ball was in his hands a lot. A couple more turnovers and stuff like that. Field goal percentage not as high, but he was averaging like 16, 17 points a game. Gets traded to Denver. I'm like, that's a great pickup for them. He brings some versatility offensively. I'm going to keep it a bean. When they traded for Aaron Gordon, I had no idea his defensive impact was going to be as good as it was this season. That was not something I was expecting from him, but countless times throughout the playoff run, he guarded Kevin Durant, he guarded Jimmy Butler, he guarded Anthony Edwards, he guarded LeBron James. And yes, did those guys get some of the numbers against him? Sure. Kevin Durant had a crazy wild, that game where him and Booker had those crazy wild scoring nights where it's like, well, if they do this, they can win, but there's no way they're going to be able to do that for an entire series. And part of that was because Aaron Gordon was there. He played really good defense against Jimmy Butler. One of Jimmy Butler's main advantages is using his strength to get to the basket. Aaron Gordon has just enough foot speed to keep up with him, and it has the strength to match him, if not be a little bit stronger than him. But outside of the defense, another thing that was really great, in my opinion, that Aaron Gordon brought to the Nuggets was last year when Jamal Murray was out, when Michael Porter Jr. was out. Aaron Gordon really just got to be the number 2 on offense in terms of playing off of Jokic. Him and Jokic were able to get so much synergy together in terms of him knowing when to cut, him knowing where Jokic likes to place lobs, him knowing, how to really just play off of Jokic on the offensive side of the ball, but also be their number 1 defensive stopper, which is crazy to think and to say out loud that Aaron Gordon on your team is the guy you were asking to defend the number 1 option, the number 1 wing option, I'll say, on the other team. And you're asking Aaron Gordon to do that. And did he shut everybody down? No, but he did a very, very good job at it throughout these playoffs. Shout out to him. Bruce Brown, absolutely amazing in these finals as well. Cutting back door, cutting off the basket. Coming off the bench, you find out midway through the playoffs, we were calling him Christian Braun all regular season, and then halfway through the playoffs, he's like, no, my name is actually Christian Braun. He was great for them. Also really good defensively. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, really good defensively and knocking down some shots. The only player for the Nuggets, to me, in my opinion, who didn't play well was Michael Porter Jr. He shot horrible from 3. He low-key didn't shoot that good from the field as either. I want to say he was in the low 30s from 3 or the high 20, like 28% from 3 or 31% from 3. Can't remember off the top of my head. But didn't shoot well from 3 at all. But he has the ability to shoot well from 3. So he was still a weapon. They were still running him off a screen. I never had a chance to make a video on it, so I'm going to say it now. It doesn't really apply as much because he didn't have the greatest of finals. But I thought this before. Michael Porter Jr. reminds me so much of like a young Klay Thompson. I think he has like Klay Thompson potential. Maybe not in terms of like 38 or 37 a quarter. I can't remember what Klay's record is. I don't know if we're going to get a game 6 version of Michael Porter Jr., but in terms of a knockdown shooter that's going to run around the court, but he has the ability to also be a couple inches taller than him, has the body and I think the skill set to be a really good defender. He has to just get his mind there and to catch up to what I think his body could do. He has the ability to be an elite 2-way guy who can knock down threes as a crazy clip and is even more athletic. He has the potential to be crazy scary in the league. Range, what's good with you? Appreciate you for hopping in, man. No problem. He said, yes. I got back from the cruise. You know what I mean? Got a tan. I was peeling a little bit. We had a good time. But yes, I'm super like red undertones in my skin for sure. For sure. A week late, like the parade was today, and I'm just not getting a chance to talk about it. So I just gotta get this off my chest. So and here I know I said it. Dude, just said reach not a while ago. Sorry, can't stay. Reach watch gang on top. Hey, exactly. Rewatch gang. Appreciate you, bro. My dad thought Nuggets was gonna win. I told him ain't no way he can beat this Nuggets team. I told him Nuggets in 5, and look who was right. I said Nuggets in 6 going into it, which I then realized that meant that the Nuggets were going to have to win in Miami, which they ended up doing, obviously. But I thought they were going to split I thought the both teams were going to split the home games in Denver and the home games in Miami, and then the Nuggets were going to go and win the rest. I thought that's how that was going to go. It didn't, but shout out to the Nuggets. Talked about Bruce Brown, talked about MPJ. As a whole, though, bro, the Nuggets were great. And the last thing I want to say about the Nuggets before we swap to talk about the Heat real quick, I want to talk about this sentiment. And we touched on it earlier to an extent, because this tweet was going viral. This idea was going viral. We covered this a little bit, but the Nuggets' path to championship. Let me make this a little bigger so we can see this. How's that look over here? Perfect. The Nuggets' path to a championship. 8 seed Timberwolves, 4 seed Suns, 7 seed Lakers, 8 seed Heat. And some people were trying to say this and use this as a way to slander the Nuggets run. To say, easy path, whatever. What is one thing I always say? First off, you got to play who's in front of you. You got to play who's in front of you, right? That's just flat out. Second off, the whole point of having the best record left in the playoffs, the whole point of getting a number 1 seed is to play the lower seeds. So let's just realize that they play next year. Just tell your team to get better. Because unless you a Timberwolves, Suns, Lakers, or Heat fan, I mean, your team ain't even... Somebody else beat your team. Like, I hate when people do this when in terms of like trying to nitpick or give an asterisk to whatever it is. Usually it's championships, but whatever it is, you got to play who's in front of you. And whether it's injury, whether it's seeding, whatever it is, you won your game. You won your last game. So that's why you win this round or whatever. So you play who's in front of you. They do. People do say the Nuggets got the Mickey Mouse ring. Playoffs are playoffs. Upsets are what we want just because the Lakers get the conference finals and get smacked with the Nuggets Boston beating another 8 seed team in 5 doesn't mean it. Yeah, I get it. And that's the other thing. People talking about they beat the Lakers in the conference finals. Well, the Lakers beat the defending champs in the round before. So, like, is it really like us? I mean, yeah, they had 7 seed, but they just beat the defending champs in the round before. It is what it is. The Lakers, I will say, the Lakers, pat on my own back. I said when they made them trades at the trade deadline, if they figure it out and if they healthy, them trades, I saw the vision. I think phenomenal run. You end up playing in both play-in games. You lose to the Hawks, then you beat the Bulls. You go crazy and not miraculously, but Jimmy goes phenomenal, and you guys beat the number 1 seed Milwaukee Bucks. Then you go ahead and beat the Knicks in a really ugly grind out series that y'all out-nicked the Knicks. I don't remember who I saw say that. Somebody said they out-nicked the Knicks. I'm trying to remember who it was. I want to say it was Pierre from Through the Wire. And then you beat the Boston Celtics in 7. Was that series 7? Yeah, that series was 7. Yeah, you beat the Boston Celtics in 7. No. Right? Am I tripping? Oh, this feels like so long ago. Anyway, my point here is y'all went on an amazing run. You had players step up huge while missing your second, third option at worst. Dills just says the Miami Heat's hardest competition was the Chicago Bulls. I shall repeat, that was a good game. I don't know how many people tuned in to that play-in game, but it was a good one. You got good building blocks, Miami. Vincent stepped up big for y'all. Strus stepped up big for y'all once again. But the biggest thing for me, and I alluded to it before, was the play of Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. Jimmy, once again, stepped up throughout the playoffs, turned into Jimmy Butler, is getting the Michael Jordan comparisons. Everybody's saying, are you Michael Jordan's son? He said it wasn't that big of a deal. He said, I'm not using it as an excuse. He said, if I'm out here, I'm healthy. All the things you want your superstar to say, and all the things, honestly, you would, at this point, come to expect Jimmy Butler to say. But that ankle injury from the second round against the Knicks really messed him up. It is what it is. I'm going to call a spade, especially when it came down to the NBA Finals. There were so many times where he literally would get to the basket and just missing layups off the front of the rim. It just looked like he did not have enough lift. And I'm going to say some of that missing lift is because he was playing on a bum ankle. Heat fans, don't be too hard on him. The numbers in the finals ain't going to look good. He had some nights. But he got y'all to the NBA finals. Y'all done been to 2 finals in the past 3 years. 2020 to 20. Y'all was in the 2021, 2023. You just didn't go to, so I guess the past 4 years, technically. The past 4 seasons. Y'all was in 2020, didn't go to 21, didn't go to 22. And now you in 2023. So y'all are on the right path. We talk about heat culture. We talk about all these things, the second and the third. Bam was phenomenal for y'all. It's phenomenal in two parts. One, I love that he stepped up offensively. Realize, especially in the NBA Finals, realize Tyler Hero is out. He steps up. He gets more aggressive offensively. We talked about this when we talked about a little bit Jokic's defense. He did have some nights where it was like, oh, Bam had 23 on 19 shots, or Bam had 22 on 17 shots. Because one, he wasn't really taking threes like at all. That's not in his game. Two, I think there were at times where, at least watching it, it looked like Bam was fading away. Like he would get to the basket, make a good move, and feel like he was fading away from the defense instead of either going straight up or going through the defense. I don't know if that's a mentality thing. Maybe that'll come next year. I don't know. But for me, and I said this about Anthony Davis, Bam and Anthony Davis midway through the season, a lot of times we want both of those players to do more on the offensive side of the ball. We say Bam needs to step up offensively. We say Anthony Davis needs to step up offensively for their respective duos, LeBron and Jimmy Butler. And I said at the time, while we might want that from them, I don't know if they got more. Anthony Davis, I think, can give you a little bit more than Bam can. We just have seen more from him on the offensive side of the ball. But in terms of both of them, that's not either of their focus. They're focused on defense, and Bam did that for y'all in spades this postseason. So shout out to him. I'm looking forward to what the Miami Heat do. There's rumors, and we'll get into some of these rumors real quick. How long we been live? About 35 minutes. That's not bad. For the first live back in forever, I knew we was going to be underneath an hour. I don't got that much to talk about, but we're going to get into some stuff. There's some rumors swirling around what the Heat might do moving forward in terms of Bradley Beal. I've heard Dame. We'll get into this in a second, but Miami, you got to be proud of your season. You have to be proud of your season. Eric Spoelstra once again proved that he's one of the best in the league at coaching. Y'all got Coach Budenholzer fired, a guy who literally just won a championship 3 years ago, 2021, just won a championship. Y'all got him fired. Y'all didn't do that. Y'all might have Boston making some big changes and stuff like that this postseason. We'll see what they do with the whole 2 Supermaxes. Y'all made a really, really good postseason. So be proud of what you did. I know you wanted the championship. Miami, of course, is bittersweet and stuff. You came up short. But the Nuggets, truthfully and honestly, were just the better team. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. All right, let's see what Dills is talking about in here. Let's be honest, Duncan Robinson Game 5 was a last-ditch effort. Yeah. Hey, listen, I ain't gonna lie. I do want to say one last thing. Shout out to Duncan Robinson. You, sir, I thought they was trying to bury you. They was trying to make it seem like your NBA career was over. You had some still ups and downs throughout the playoffs, but for the most part, you at least proved, hey, I'm an NBA player still. Like, I am a playable, give me some minutes NBA player. I fully expect him to be back in rotation, even with Tyler Hero, even with Victor Oladipo healthy, going into next year. I fully expect Duncan Robinson to be back in the rotation. He was getting to the basket, something that I don't know if I can say we, but I know I can say I've never seen Duncan Robinson do. The shot was, on and off still at times, but very similar to what I said about Michael Porter Jr., having him out there, even if it's a decoy, if he's not hitting like at his normal clip, it causes the defense to pay attention to that shooter on the floor. Now, I mean, he still was a defensive liability at times, but I liked that aggression of him going to the basket. You could also say the same series against Boston. Yeah, but it went to 7 and they played 3 games after. Yeah. rest, the playoffs gave me something that I realized. Rest is very important. If your team can get a week of rest before playing game one the next round, that's so valuable for the next round. Dills, that is 100% correct. That's why it's always a big deal. If you can get a sweep off or close out a series early, it's important to try to do so, because then you get rest for your team while your opponent's probably still playing. Rest in the playoffs is so valuable. It really is. But you can't make it an excuse if you don't get rest, because at the end of the day, you got to play who's in front of you. So that's also why I love the NBA playoffs, because it has so many variables and different aspects to it. There's some teams might have more rest than others. Some teams might play more games than others. Injury is always a thing. Home court advantage is a thing. To me, the NBA playoffs are the, and hockey to an extent. I'm gonna give hockey. Well, actually, all of them have series except for football. Every other sport besides football, to me, I like their playoff method, their playoff format more, because you get to see a little more back and forth chess match. But when you talk about the NFL playoffs, it gives more of the college vibe, because it is a one and done. And if you win, you move on. If you don't, you go home. So that's, you know what I mean? Pros and cons. Depends what you like. All right, we're going to switch some gears real quick. There's 3 point guards I want to talk about. Actually, well, I can't say all point guards because one of them is technically a shooting guard, but 4 guards I want to talk about, because apparently guards might move this summer. Might be the summer of guards. First one, I want to talk about Chris Paul. This Bleacher Report article. Let me pull this up. So reports came out the other day that Chris Paul and the Suns, I'm just going to say Suns leadership, because I'll explain why in a second, but the Suns leadership were talking about exploring their options. And the reason I say Suns leadership is because new owner Matt Ishbia has already got rid of Monty Williams. I wouldn't be surprised if James Jones is on the hot seat if what is his name? Bob Myers makes it seem like he's interested in going to the Suns. Matt Ishbia, new owner. A lot of times when a new owner buys this team, he wants his guys. He wants his people running the organization. He wants it to feel like his team, since he paid billions for it, not the team that the last guy owned. It's a thing, right? So conversations are coming up with Chris Paul. Chris Paul says he absolutely wants to stay with the Suns amid trade release. They essentially would just lose him and still end up paying him, I want to say $18 million, and then he could be a free agent and sign wherever he wants. Next thing you know, Chris Paul joins like the Lakers or the Heat. Not the Heat, but the rumors are like Lakers, Bucks. I see some Clipper rumors, and I've seen Lakers, Bucks, Clippers. Like those are the main ones I've seen. It's a 4th team I'm missing, but I can't remember the other team I saw in terms of like rumored if he getting right here. Chris Paul has 2 years remaining on his 4-year, $120 million contract, which is absolutely insane. $30 million contract becomes fully guaranteed by June 28th. That's why it's a big deal of like, do you waive him by the 28th? I think waiving is probably the worst idea they can do, as crazy as it sounds. If you want to move him, you have to trade him. But the problem is, we already thought Chris Paul's last contract. No, I'm sorry. We thought Russell Westbrook's contract was unmovable. The one OKC gave him. We didn't think that would be, no. Whose contract did we think was unmovable? Was it Chris Paul's last contract or Paul's? And I'm not talking about, now they face this idea of, do we waive him? Do we trade him? I think the worst option is to keep him. I'm going to keep it a being. Like, I think the worst idea the Suns could do is keep Chris Paul. Between his age, the fact that, and I feel strongly and can say fact, the fact that we know he's not going to be healthy come playoffs is like, well, we need him to be healthy, considering if you do keep him, you have basically no money to go out and fill out the rest of your roster between his contract, Devin Booker's contract, and Kevin Durant's contract, and the new CBA rules, which we might do a live in the next couple of weeks to really, before the offseason really gets kicked off, because I started reading some articles about the CBA stuff. I'm even still confused about it. So I'm sure other people are confused about it. All we all vaguely know is you can't afford to have as many superstars and supermax contracts under, on your team without being hit by like this double luxury tax. But I don't know how intense it is, because the luxury tax was built to stop super teams already. But if your super team wins enough, I'm looking at the Warriors. If your team wins enough, you can live in luxury tax forever because you're going to make enough money that your owner can still pay it, or at least not mind paying it. So they did that to combat essentially teams like the Warriors. But I want to look into a deeper dive in terms of the CBA in the next coming weeks and really get a better grasp on it going into this offseason so we can better know what some possibilities are. Ben, my guy, what's good with you? Good to see you. Good to see you. Where am I? Next up, I want to talk about Bradley Beal, just real quick. Once again, this is from Bleacher Report. Y'all know how I feel about Bleacher Report when it comes to articles that might make sense. Sometimes they make sense, sometimes they don't, in terms of projected trades. So this NBA rumors Bradley Beal trade has been discussed by the Kings and Wizards. Shams has basically tweeted over the last couple of days. Another team that has Bradley Beal trade talks with the Wizards, the Kings, believe that Bradley Beal would consider Sacramento given his no trade clause, but right now does not appear to be a clear pathway for both sides. Now, if you don't know, Bradley Beal, one of the few, I believe the only active player in the NBA with a no trade clause in his contract. Also, fun fact, let's look up at how much Bradley Beal's contract is because I don't remember how much it is off the top of my head, but it is egregious. Bradley Beal's contract, oh my gosh, 5 years, $251 million. And he has 3 more years actually guaranteed left. 4th year is a player option. He becomes an unrestricted free agent in 2027. And unless he is on an absolutely horrible team, there's no way in the world I see him turning down a $57 million player option. So, right. What do you do if you're the Washington Wizards? 2 things. First off, you don't sign Bradley Beal to that crazy contract last summer. Let's start there. That's where we start. You don't sign him to that. But since he's here, I think you just blow it up, which it seems to be the direction they want to go in. The problem is with his no trade clause, he kind of picks where he gets traded to, or at least they got to give him a couple options, and then maybe he'll be like, pick what you think is the best out of XYZ teams. I've heard the Kings, like we just saw. I've heard Miami, I want to say. Honestly, I think those are the only main 2 that I've seen so far, at least. Like I said, it's still early in trade talks. There's plenty of time. But considering his contract, he can't go to, like, you can't add him to a team that already has another Supermax contract without completely gutting that team. And then you end up like Kevin Durant and Devin Booker with the Suns. And we saw how far that went. And I think most of us would agree that Devin Booker is better than Bradley Beal. So unless you're pairing him up with someone who's better than Kevin Durant, you know, my point is how far you can go with Bradley Beal on this contract is very, very limited unless you have a good team around him. Now, Brad has had the season that got him this bag was a really, really good season. Over the last couple of years, barring the injury he dealt with last season, he's proven that he's gotten better and better. But he's also 30. He'll be, you know what I mean? Like, he's already on the tail end of his prime. I'm not saying he's out of it. I'm just saying he's on the tail end. So my point here is, the Wizards put themselves in a very interesting predicament. I don't know what they get back for him. I'm excited to see a possibility where they actually decide to potentially blow it up. I truly am excited to see that for them, because they've been in NBA purgatory for the last couple of years. As I say that out loud, I feel like my Sixers are also in NBA purgatory, but we'll talk about that on a different stream. Speaking of my Sixers and speaking of Dill's comment right here, speaking of Beal, can you transition into my Discord message question since it goes with Beal? Plus, have some trade ideas with Maxey in the trade package. So Dill sent me this message on Discord. Shameless plug. If you're not in the Discord, I suggest you get into the Discord. It ain't as active as it used to be. We get it back though. We getting it back. Dill's asked on Discord, Hawk, when the stream begins, can you answer this question for me that's been rumbling lately for Sixers fans? And this is a question that I haven't even really heard from most Sixers fans, so shout out to you for telling me this. In my opinion, and he puts in all caps, we should not trade Maxey at all for anybody, for literally anybody. Beal, Lillard, Paul, whatever. But other Sixers fans say it's worth it, so we'll go all in and have another shot and make it a title run. Dills, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. And I'm going to tell you why. Joel Embiid is 29? 29? Yeah, I think Joel Embiid is 29 and Jokic is 28. I happened to be looking up their ages the other day. Maxey is already built into the Sixers culture. Maxey already is built into and used to playing with Joel Embiid, right? And he's improved year over year. We've seen tremendous improvement from him. My fear or my hesitation in trading him for first off, a Beal, definitely not. I don't think a trade for Beal fixes, or fixes isn't the question, the phrase I'm looking for, but improves our roster that much. And you might call me crazy for that. I'll live with that. That's fine. Keep it at a beam. The only person I would really consider it for would be Damian Lillard. I think Damian Lillard is head and shoulders above at this point in their careers. Beal and Chris Paul. He's head and shoulders above them, in my opinion. He's coming off one of the best seasons of his career, All NBA this past season. Statistically speaking, one of the best of his career. Winning wise, obviously not, but he's still Dame. The reason I would hesitate to making that trade, honestly, I'm gonna tell you why. And I guess I get to both folds of why the Sixers, some fans and the Sixers fans are saying make the trade, and some fans will be saying don't make the trade. Hear me out. Over the last couple of years, in terms of the teams that won a championship, teams don't just add a big piece like the piece that they're considering in this trade, whether it be Dame, Beal, like a clear number 2, right? You don't just add that in the offseason and then win a championship. That just doesn't happen. But do you know what does happen? You draft a couple of good guys, you build a culture, and then you know what you pick up with the trades and the free agency pieces. You pick up like 6-mans. You pick up rangy wings. You pick up backup centers. That's what you pick up and put the extra pieces around. Because if you look, I'm keeping it a beam. Let's just look. Giannis, you drafted there. You say, oh, well, Drew and Brook weren't. Yeah, but they was already there for, 2 seasons. I think Drew was there for 2 seasons before they won the chip. Brook was there, I think, also for 2 seasons before they won the chip, if I'm not mistaken. I could be misremembering. That might be me. But I knew they weren't there just the season prior and stuff. You look at the Warriors dynasty. Yes, they added Kevin Durant. That's a very rare occasion. But they also were at 2 finals before then from a homegrown organization. We look at the Denver Nuggets that just won. That is a homegrown organization. The outside pieces, yeah, Bruce Brown, Aaron Gordon a couple years ago, but those are the fringe pieces you add via trade and free agency. But MPJ, Jamal, Jokic, homegrown, right? Think of even the only team that I would say that doesn't necessarily follow this formula, at least in the last couple of years, are the 2020 Lakers. But even to that extent, LeBron was there the year prior, and then you add Anthony Davis to play with LeBron, and that was just a very unique situation. I don't think the Sixers have that ability to just add a number 1, number 2 level guy at the point guard position and catapult us to true title contention. I just don't, personally. Does it sound pessimistic? Yes. Does it feel pessimistic? Definitely yes, as I'm saying it out loud. But I just don't think that's the trade you make. Yes, unless you're Brown and AD. Exactly. That's a very niche scenario. What's good, G, by the way? G says, can you move Tobias to get DeRozan? Bulls can open up space and Sixers can get a dog and you keep Maxey. So that's the only other offense is going to be generated for Maxey, is already generated for Maxey, that if you just trade Maxey for Dame, as crazy as it sounds, But if we're keeping it a being of really evaluating what Maxey brought to this team this past year, you're adding what, like 10 more points a game? Like, you're not mad. As crazy as it sounds, if you move Maxey for just it's not marginally better, but like the next level of guard, I don't think that's that much of an improvement. You're adding like the same amount of assists if it's Dame, or a couple more assists and like 7 to 10 more points a game. That's not as much of an improvement as I think the Sixers would need. The idea of a DeRozan could be smooth for us. I know a lot of Sixers fans want to move Tobias, and I think if we are going to move Tobias, this is the year to do it, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's a free agent next summer. So if you're going to move him, this is the summer / beginning of season to do it. And there's a world where I can see the Bulls also being like, you know what, DeRozan, Zach, all y'all out of here. Like, it's time to reset ourselves, considering they don't even know the future of Alonzo. So I get it. Sixers can't evaluate talent and can't make homegrown players better. It's been that way. Yeah, I mean, I think the Sixers problem over the last, we'll say 6 years, has been, and I've said this before, this is literally the point I was just making about homegrown players, but we just talked about the last couple of people that won the championship. Not only is it evaluating talent, but what do we say about the Heat? We say Heat culture. We talked about this magical word of culture, but that comes from stability from the top. Same GM running it, so the same vision, the same coaching. The Sixers over the last 5-6 seasons went from Hinkie to, they forced him out. Then we had Colangelo. Then we had Elton Brand, and then we have I always forget his name. It literally always, I can see his face. Y'all know who I'm trying to say. So there's no stability in terms of the vision for the team. So when it comes time for the draft, one GM's like, I have this vision, I'm going to draft this guy. Then he gets fired. And then this other GM goes, well, I have a whole different vision. I'm trading these picks for this guy. And so there's no real stability. And then there's no stability in terms of coaching. We went from Brett Brown. Well, I guess this really just went from Brett Brown to Doc. But no one liked Brett Brown, and now no one likes Doc. So in terms of just like the instability that's been there for the Sixers, the idea of another big trade, like a big swing at the fence trade, Dame, Beal, even the Harden one that we did, the idea of another big swing of the fence trade, to me, all it says is more instability, more shuffling the deck and just trying to scramble, essentially. Is because we didn't start with that good foundation of seeing a vision and sticking with it. We just kept going all over the place. That's hurting. I mean, we've seen it. It hurts our chances come to actually try to win a championship. Yeah. All right, y'all. Let's see. I didn't think I was gonna go on the Sixers that long, but if you ask me about the Sixers, that I can talk about the Sixers. Saw a couple of rumors that hold on. Yeah, what's the name is all jacked up. Chat is all. When we had Jimmy, he wasn't number one. He just took the tough shots in the playoffs, but going off production, and B was the number one. Yeah, that is true. Let me see. What are y'all saying here? Let me see. Yeah, last year was deal. The process didn't fail us. The Sixers failed the process. That's facts. People always say the process didn't work, and it'd be the outside looking in. It's fun to poke fun at Sixers fans, which I get. Like, it is what it is. It's the internet, right? But no front office stability. You can't make a plan for the future if your front office is a different dude every other year. It just doesn't work. Oh, Dale, see, I would disagree with you. Dad said it perfectly. Embiid is not a number one guy. He's the number two guy. Look at the season we had Butler. Butler was the guy, and Embiid was playing much better as a two guy. I would more so agree with what Galen said, G said down here, which was we had Jimmy, and he wasn't number one. He just took the shots down the stretch, which he was, I wouldn't say he was the number one. I would say he was a closer. Honestly, very similar to LeBron James and Kyrie. LeBron is definitely the number one on that team, but depending on the night, a lot of times Kyrie might be the closer for that team, and LeBron will let Kyrie go off in the fourth and stuff from time to time. And then to play devil's advocate, that was also 20. Lord, was that 20? What? My mind wants to say that was 2018, but that's literally 5 years ago, and that feels forever ago. So there's like no way that's 2018. Maybe it was 2019 that we had Jimmy. Either way, just say, give me the ball in the fourth quarter and get the ball possession after possession after possession and either score or, find open man. So I'm not necessarily worried about the Sixers' ability to close out games because I've seen Joel Embiid do that all season long. What's good, John? Talking about the Sixers and the Nets and how I'm gonna clean up next season. Yeah. The thing is about this deals, I no longer really agree with people when they say this statement, only because this statement only works until they do. Like literally this statement only works until that person does win a championship and you go, oh, well, I guess you could win a championship. And you know why I can confidently say this? Is because all season long, the conversation around Nikola Jokic and the MVP race was, oh, well, we don't know if we can give him 3 MVPs because he doesn't have a championship, right? Winning championship with Embiid as your best player. But 2 things have to happen. Embiid has to be healthy, and then 2, you have to make sure you just got a decent team around them with some actual depth. It don't even gotta be crazy. Nuggets just win a championship running 8 guys. If we could just get 8 guys, we got a shot. But if I'm keeping it a B, Sixers don't got 8 guys. Nah, Sixers don't got 8 guys. They don't. They don't. Nah, I can't say so. And Embiid was more of the one guy. See, I would just disagree. Embiid was the one on that team. The most important games. That's why they're cooled off and then, turned up a little bit more in the playoffs. But, and yes, the Sixers don't build good teams around their stars. They just don't. The Sixers, a good Sixers organization, a good team, as crazy as it sounds, the Sixers should try to re-emulate what the Nuggets have. The Nuggets built a good team around Jokic. And also, ironically, the Nuggets also don't have a backup center, just like the Sixers don't. But at times, they either run Jeff Green at the 5, Aaron Gordon at the 5. They have other just scrappy guys. I guess our version of Aaron Gordon is PJ Tucker. Like, that just sounds nasty. My point is the Sixers didn't do a good job of building a good team around it. Yeah, but it is what it is, man. It is what it is. What's good, Range? All right, real quick, last couple of things before we get up out of here. I just wanted to, I didn't want to talk about this. I want to talk about it briefly because it's a thought I had. I was waiting for some sort of announcement and I more so have a question. I want to see what the community thinks on Ja Morant, right? So if you don't know, I don't know how you don't know, Ja Morant's been in a ton of controversy. He's had, I think, 2 separate allegations with almost getting in fights with underage guys at basketball courts. He had the incident with the Pacers, either players or bus, where like an entourage of his car was pointing green lasers at a Pacers bus, if I'm not misremembering. Then he had the gun in the strip club. And then like maybe 2 weeks ago by now, he had the gun on his boys live. And then his boy was like, oh, snap, and put the phone away, right? Let me see. I'm gonna wait for it to catch back up. I just want to make sure we call back up because I don't want this to be lagged out. Okay, boom. So this is why I'm happy you're here, G, because I'm curious, right? How can I put this? Adam Silver says, so after the IG live on his boys live, his boy's like, oh, snap, he puts the phone away. Adam Silver says, we've had some more information. Basically, like, it ain't looking good for Ja. We don't want to announce it during the finals because we don't want to take away from the finals. I thought that was also funny because I think the NBA also realized they did a horrible job of advertising the Nuggets all season long. So they were like, let's not take away more from the Nuggets. And I think they're still probably even gonna wait like a week or two to let the um air breathe and let the media cycle really have a full media cycle for the Nuggets in the NBA Finals, right? Just a genuine bad look. From what we've been presented with, to my knowledge, Ja hasn't broken any rules, right? He's exhibited poor gun safety. I will give you that. He has exhibited poor gun safety. And I'm sure there's some sort of clause in NBA contracts that's like some sort of conduct unbecoming. And I think we've had this conversation before that if he was posing with these guns in a gun range or at some sort of instructional thing, this wouldn't be an issue because we've seen NBA players do that. Like any color of NBA player, any color thing, like black, white. I've seen Hispanic, French. Like I can think of Tony Parker at a gun range. Picture of Tony Parker at a gun range and stuff like that. Like throughout history, we've seen that part isn't new, but this on Instagram on live is new. But once again, my question is, outside of some potential, and I don't know what it is, to be honest with you, outside of the potential conduct unbecoming to the league, because that would be the probably the quote in the contract, he hasn't really, to my knowledge, broken any rule. So I'm very curious. I'm not saying he's not going to get suspended, or I'm not saying I necessarily disagree with his suspension. A really big suspension would be crazy to me. The Grizzlies did suspend him from all team activity, but it's the off season, so there is no team activity. I'm just very curious to see what the NBA does. Because yes, I realize this keep freezing. I was trying to fix the freeze, but yeah, I see what you're talking about. Ja has broken no laws or NBA rules, so suspend him is hard. So I'm very curious to see what they decide to do there. Personally, over 20 games would shock me. Personally, over 20 games would shock me. Because also over 20 games with the new rules means he's ineligible for any All-NBA stuff, any MVP considerations, like those in-season awards, because now you got to play 65 games. So if they knock 20 off, that's now he only can play 62. They said they might take some exceptions and stuff. We'll see how that goes, but 20 games would shock me. I'll say that. All right, that's all I got on the notes for today. Mainly wanted to talk about the NBA Finals, the little off-season preview, talking about Chris Paul, Bradley Beal. Of course, we're going to talk about the Sixers and stuff. I think what's going to happen is a change in rules, $250K fine, 10, 20 games. That makes sense. I like this. I like what G's saying here. Because to me, that's and I think I guess that's more so my question there was, and I guess that makes sense. Just like how when Gilbert Arenas got found on property, that's with a firearm. That's why he got fined 50 games, because it was on NBA property, it was on team property. And now it's basically called the Gilbert Arenas rule. Whatever Ja new suspension going to be is about to be called the Ja Morant rule, in terms of like, you need to be doing proper gun safety, it be shown when you're displaying firearms on the internet. It has to be proper safety, because I mean, what he doing wasn't necessarily proper safety. So, yeah. Oh, we need a full stream. We talk about the Sixers all season. I mean, I don't think I could talk about the Sixers that much. It's going to frustrate me too much to talk about them for that long. I ain't gonna lie to you. We might do something where we, maybe I'll have like 2 or 3 teams that I really want to like really look at it like on a stream, and maybe the Sixers will obviously probably be one of them. And we'll just go through and look at what each team is doing throughout the off season. I'm gonna say it and stick to it. I'm gonna be back next Wednesday. We're back to Wednesdays, 8 p.m. It's funny. I was talking to my wife. I was like, why did I switch to 7 p.m.? Because getting off of work and then scrambling for a 7 p.m., it was not working for me. But 8 p.m. I can pull off. Gives me more time to get my notes together, and I'm the crazy person who decides to start doing weekly lives again once the NBA season is over. But appreciate y'all for watching. Thanks for rocking with your boy, and I will catch y'all next Wednesday, 8 p.m. I'm out of here.